Scriptures teach us that two people cannot work together unless they have agreed. Hello, good people. This is Stella Sanabokelo, your regular host on the Family Enrichment Hub. I have the honor to welcome you to another topic of discussion today, and that is regular disagreements within our relationships. God has designed marriage in such a way that He expects us to become one team, to be of one mind, to think in the same direction in relation to aspects that affect us as a marital team within our marriage. And so, for many of us who grew up with siblings, we can relate to the fact that we had so many times when we disagreed, when we fought, when we had our squabbles, but also were able to quickly restore the normalcy within our relationship and again get back to the things that we truly loved and enjoyed together. Look at our friendships. There are also a few times when we reach a point where we actually disagree. We disagree on different aspects of our friendships, but that does not tear us apart. We use that many times to actually get to understand one another and quickly resolve our disagreements and get back to what brings us together as friends. I could also relate it to the workplace where you report to work, you have colleagues, you have bosses, and a few times, truth be told, we shall disagree on different aspects that relate to the work. But just because we have disagreed does not mean that you will not report to that workplace again. You'll find yourself the following day again reporting to work and reporting to the very same boss that you previously disagreed with. Disagreements should not tear us apart. Disagreements should actually bring us together. They should be able to help us to understand one another and appreciate our diversity and uniqueness and be able to work with what truly brings us together. When it comes to marriage, it's not different, it's not an exception. Every marriage will have disagreements at one point or the other within that relationship. And so rest assured, all marriages go through seasons when couples truly disagree. The difference only comes in how we manage these disagreements. Otherwise, disagreements happen in all relationships. Today, I want to be focusing this discussion on what really causes these disagreements within our relationships. I'll also be exploring in the subsequent podcasts the implication of continued disagreements within our relationship. And I'll also be sharing insights that can be of help to all of us as we manage the issue of disagreements in our relationships. Of necessity, where you have two independent thinking adults, that is a recipe for disagreement because everybody has their views, everybody has their different ideas, and so of necessity, disagreements will happen wherever you have two or more people. Where you have different interests, of necessity, that is also a recipe for disagreement. One person, for instance, wants to watch football. Another person wants to watch a movie. Another person wants to go out and have some fun time. Another person just wants to stay home. Those are all different interests that at different points in your relationship will actually be a source of disagreement between the two of you. You also come from different backgrounds and cultures. One person will be coming from a background where women are underrated. They are looked at as second or third class citizens. While for another person, they come from a place where it doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman, you're all treated the same. When you bring those two different ideas and backgrounds together, of necessity, points will come in that relationship where you will disagree just basing on the different backgrounds and cultures that you come from. Personal prejudices and biases also contribute to disagreements within our relationships. I once had a friend who shared with me her experience of her husband being so heavy footed to formalize their relationship. Why? Because she was working in the bank. And according to this man, bankers are extremely busy. They are not available. They are too committed to their bank work. And so the man had a bias of bank women cannot make good wives. So when you bring that kind of biases into your relationship, of necessity, you will bang your heads. Of necessity, you will disagree at different points within your relationships. When you have different value systems, one person has a value of, for instance, they don't believe in abortion, and the other person says, no, it is okay. What is the big deal about abortion? Of necessity, you're going to bang your heads. You're going to have disagreements just by virtue of having different value systems within your relationships. Pride and ego is another aspect that causes disagreements in so many marriages. For instance, I've had so many marriages where women say, the men do not do certain activities. For instance, a man says, I cannot be seen washing dishes as a man. I cannot stoop that low. I cannot be seen to be changing a pamper of a child. That is pride and ego. And you will disagree with your partner just basing on your pride that has gone ahead of you. Ignorance. Ignorance of the importance of relationship, ignorance of the value that your partner brings to your life. That can be a recipe for you to actually disagree within your relationship. Another one is different visions. One person wants to live a quiet and laid back and successful life, while another person wants a hyped life, wants a celebrity lifestyle. How are you going to match these two different visions? And yet, you are married and you must create a winning team together. Of necessity, those different visions that each of you has will be a recipe for disagreement within your relationship. Misaligned priorities. I've heard of couples where one person is looking at children's school fees is a priority, while another partner is looking at buying a car is a bigger priority than paying children's fees. One person is saying, no, let's invest. Another person is saying, no, me, I desire pleasure. I want to enjoy myself. I want trips. Misaligned priorities will cause you to have regular disagreements within your relationship. Unmet and unrealistic expectations. And this is a big one for most marriages. People come into relationship having a certain expectation from their partner. And when the partner does not meet that expectation, unfortunately, many times people are disappointed. And like Dr. Miles Monroe tells us, if you want to be happy in your marriage, have zero or minimal expectation from your spouse. In that way, you will manage the disappointment that would come from setting a really high expectation on your spouse. And he also tells us self righteousness is another aspect that can actually cause you to disagree within your marriage. There are people whom you cannot tell anything, they think they know it all. You cannot add them anything because they believe they are the Alpha and the Omega of knowledge in a certain direction. So, with that kind of attitude of necessity, you'll bang your heads, you'll have disagreements within your relationships. There are people who are also selfish by nature. Every decision at family level, they will be calculating on what is their personal benefit. What do they gain from this decision? If they don't seem to have an immediate pleasure from a certain decision, they may not go in the direction that is being suggested for the family. And so, of necessity, you'll bang your heads. And it's also worth noting that as adults, we are changing on a daily basis. We are growing spiritually, mentally, physically, and in all these different aspects. And so, when you enter the relationship, you thought you knew your partner quite well, but they keep changing every other time. And so, these changes can also be a point of disagreement within your relationship. It is worth noting that in your marriage, expect disagreements because they will definitely happen. Like we've said, all relationships will go through moments, they'll go through periods where you don't agree on things that are critical to the relationship. And so, to avoid disappointments, expect that disagreements will actually happen. It's also worth noting that your high expectation that you've set on your partner is actually what causes your disappointment, not what your partner does per se. And so we are advised to trim on our expectations that we set on our partners in order to avoid disappointments that can arise from that. Samuel Bakutana, a renowned family therapist, tells us that the effective marriage is about a couple reaching a point where they effectively manage their expectations. In other words, how you handle your disagreements in your relationship is what determines the success, is what determines the peace, the unity, and the joy that you will enjoy within that relationship. It's also worth noting, friends, that depending on your mental orientation, if for instance you're somebody who is tilted towards fault finding, towards looking for problems, you will most likely always find something to disagree about because there'll always be problems all over you. But if you're tilted towards being a solution finder, finding support for when issues have gone wrong, chances are when you disagree with your partner, you'll always be quick, you'll always be ready, you'll always be available to avail solutions to the disagreement that is at hand between you and your partner. Leadership demands that in every disagreement, you must seek and explore the winning ways to manage the disagreement and restore peace, unity, and normalcy within your relationship. Marriage is like a blank check or sheet that you're handed by the Lord. What you write in that sheet, that is what determines the quality of the relationship that you'll have between you and your partner. Let's manage disagreements within our relationships. Just because we have disagreed does not make us enemies, does not make us foes, does not make us opposers and proposers. We remain on the same team. I want to conclude with this. The Bible tells us in Matthew chapter 18, verse 19, that whatever the two of you agree on the earth concerning anything, it will be granted to you in prayer. God commands his blessing where there is unity and where there is agreement. Let's build agreement within our relationships. Let's not destroy our marriages just because we have disagreed on different aspects of our relationship. Thank you, friends, for listening in. Kindly share widely, for this is how we shall transform our society through the family. God bless you. Bye.